So I'm a firm believer in the notion that you get what you pay for. If you buy something cheap, it's always going to be cheap. And conversely, if you invest in something that's high quality, even if the price is a premium, it's probably going to retain its value better and could even increase in value depending on what it is. But I also think that there's a fine line somewhere in the middle, that there's a great balance between price and quality. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you a case that I think strikes that balance really well and is the best alternative I've found to mono creators and their cases. Now, this is not a dig on mono creators. I own 4 of their products. I have the Flyby backpack, I have the Club 2.0 gig bag, I have the small pedal board, and I also recently got their double guitar case. Now, I think their stuff is great. It is also a premium when it comes to soft cases in that category, and they're probably still the best to do it. But I think I found something for those of you that don't want to shell out all of that money on a mono case and maybe are looking for something that's a slightly different alternative that fits your needs better. So without further ado, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump into the video. So the case that we're looking at today is this one. This is the Roadrunner RR5 TEG-BSC. They should probably come up with a better name. But this is the black stealth camo version. I think that's what the BSC stands for. And this is a really, really solid case. You'll see that it's from their Highway series of cases. And as someone who's not that familiar with Roadrunner, I just saw this case as Guitar Center's stupid deal of the day, and it was somewhere in the vicinity of $56, I think, shipped, which was an incredible deal. Now they're around $119 brand new, which still puts them at less than half the cost of a comparable mono electric guitar case. So, why do I think this case is great? I'm going to show you what I think is awesome about it. I'm going to compare it to one of my mono cases, show you some of the differences, and of course let you draw your own basis and assumption on which one you think is best for you. So let's start with the thing that I love most about this case and what attracted me to it in the first place, and that is the full-size outer pocket. The thing that I really like about this case that mono cases don't have is that the outside pocket is the full length of the case. Now, I think that's really great for quite a few reasons. Number one, if you're carrying something in the outside pocket, it's probably not something that's susceptible to a lot of damage, so it's okay to be in said pocket. I keep things like guitar strings, straps, even tremolo arms, a pin, capo, etc. in these pockets, and I can just leave it and forget it. I don't have to worry about it. I like building redundancy into my setup so that way if for some crazy reason I don't have my backpack or something that always has spare capos, picks, and all of that in it, then I have them in my case and I don't have to worry about it. Now, one thing I will say about this case that attracted me the most to it is the full-size laptop sleeve. Now, just for context, my 16-inch M1X MacBook Pro fits in that sleeve with no issues. I can fit that, a full-size large moleskin notebook, and I could even fit a couple of cables in there, which makes it very, very versatile. Now, I wouldn't fly with this with the laptop in it, especially if it had to be gate checked, but it is great for just going around town. When I'm teaching lessons, a lot of times I like to have my laptop so I can do other work in between, or if I have a lesson cancel. So for that reason, I really, really like this case. Now, one thing that's awesome about it as well, moving on, is it's a very, very rigid outer shell. It's some kind of corrugated material. They talk about it more in depth on their website, and it's very, very solid. I have zero issues with it, and I've even flown with it. I've had this case for a few months. I've gone around town with it a ton. It's become my go-to case when I only need one electric, and I'm very, very happy with it. Now, moving on to the inside. You'll see that it's very, very thickly padded, and I'll show you, of course, the mono case in comparison here in a bit, and I think the padding is right on par. It's about the same density, about the same thickness, and I have no issues with it. Again, I've been on 4 different flights with a guitar in it, and the guitar had to be gate checked, which isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I wasn't worried about it at all in this case. I flew with my Sir Classic S Antique, and it was absolutely fine. Now you'll notice there is a thicker padded area here at the bottom, which is great. Some of that is removable, and I think if you took out some of that padding, you could fit something like a Gibson ES335 or similar style semi-hollow body electric guitar. Now I only have my 339, but it fits in here just fine. That's the biggest guitar that I own, and I have no issues with it in there, even with all of the padding. Now you do have this neck brace, and one thing that's interesting about this one compared to the mono to me is that it's thicker, number one, but it also has a recessed cutout for the neck. Now the mono doesn't have that. Again, not a big deal. I actually do think I prefer this one though. So let's move on to the outside of the case, because I think this might be where it's lacking a little bit compared to the mono case. Now again, all the pros for me are really on the inside of this case, but I want to focus on the exterior, a couple of small negatives, but again, for the price, I can't really fault it, especially if you can get this case on sale. I think it's an exceptional value for money, but let's look at the outside. So the first thing is the exterior itself. This material is clearly not as high quality as the mono. It may be a little bit harder to tell on camera, but it's definitely thinner, definitely doesn't feel quite as durable. Now, I haven't had any ripping or anything like that in the 4-ish months that I've owned it. And again, that's been a few flights where it's been gate checked as well. But I can tell that this is going to be much more likely to wear out a bit quicker than the mono stuff will. I would worry that this material would be more susceptible to rip, especially if it came across something sharp, simply because it is thinner. Now the next thing is the base of it. The mono cases have this really thick, I think it's an almost Teflon type material on the bottom of all of their cases and bags, including my backpack, but really all of my mono cases. And I think that that material is much, much tougher than what's on the bottom of this. Now, the other negative I think about this bag would just be the overall handle construction and the strap construction. It's clearly a good bit cheaper than the mono. And again, I'm fine with them cutting corners on that, because that's not going to be something to me that's as important as the overall construction and protection of the guitar. Now, this handle could very well rip off faster, or the straps themselves, and while they are cheap, I don't really think that they're going to be something that wears out immediately or even in the next few years. But that is something to think about if this is kind of your main case, or if you're going to be toting around a really heavy 11 or 12 pound Les Paul in it. It's definitely something to think about. But overall, I think those are the only real negatives about this case. And to me, those are small things when looking at it as a whole. All right, verdict time. I think the last thing you have to think about is, of course, the reputation of the manufacturer and their warranty. Now, I can't speak to Roadrunner, and these cases haven't been out that long, but I do have friends who have had mono cases completely replaced because of a tear in the fabric or something small coming off of them. And that's a really big deal. If you are going to spend a premium on a case, I would expect a more premium warranty like that. And I don't know that that exists for the Roadrunner case. That said, here's what I think. I think if money is no object and you have no problem spending a premium, then the mono case is what I would get. However, I think at less than half the price, keeping in mind that this is $119 brand new and the comparable mono case would be $249 or $269 brand new, I think the Roadrunner case, as we discussed in the beginning, is the best value for money that I've seen in an electric guitar case. Yes, the exterior of it isn't quite as nice as the mono, maybe not quite as well thought through, but again, I can fit a full-size laptop in this and I can't do that in the mono case. So, with all of that said, value for money goes to the Roadrunner. Overall better case will go to the mono by just a small margin. But I want to know what you think. Let me know if you have experience with either of these cases down in the comments below, and any of your thoughts there as well. I'll leave a couple of my favorite videos over here for you to check out, and I will see you guys in the next one.